Welcome to a new episode of Shop Talk with Radiate Prints. That is a very special episode where I'll be doing a recap of the first year of Shop Talk, and I'll be sharing with you some never before seen moments, some of my favorite moments from the episode, and just some best practices and business advice that have been shared this year. And I even get to share with you something really exciting that since I launched this podcast 5 months ago, we've reached more than 100,000 people through this podcast. And that is something I never could have dreamed of or imagined. When I started looking into the stats for this, preparing for this episode, I opened up my Spotify Wrapped for my podcast. So if you listen to Spotify, you're familiar with what that is. It just gives you like a rundown of like what artist you listen to most, or what song you played the most. And if you're curious, my most played song on Spotify is Let It Go by Idina Menzel. If you know, you know. But anyway, they do a Spotify Wrapped for podcast people like me too, so I could see stats. And once I added that up with Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and our social platforms where we post like short form content, I realized that we've reached over 100,000 people with this, and that's amazing. I think when I started this, I just hoped that we might be able to share some entrepreneurial stories that encouraged me and helped me, that I hoped would help other people too. Because I remember when I was a college student at ECU and I knew nothing about business. My parents weren't in business. My dad worked at Food Line and my mom was a nurse. And I just had these like side hustle hobbies that I would do. And my dad kind of did that too. Like he would work on cars, he would grind stumps, he would fix things. And I guess that was my version of it, was like doing crafts. And when I met the business people at ECU and the College of Business and the Miller School of Entrepreneurship, they gave me advice. They helped me meet other business people that were able to like teach me about business. And I love my degree from ECU, but I'm telling you that mentorship really made a difference for me. And I thought that maybe this podcast could be a way that I could make a difference for somebody else too, and share what has benefited me with somebody else. And to think that 100,000 people have watched some form of this is just incredible. Never in my wildest dreams did I think that that would happen. And it makes me so excited for what's to come. It's only appropriate to start this episode by going over the top Shop Talk advice that we got on the podcast this past year. So first up is one of my favorite clips from Rich Ballett. Rich was one of our most requested guests that we've had on the podcast, and I had actually never met him in person until we sat down together for this podcast. One of the things that Rich talked about was how he believes that all business owners, entrepreneurs have some of the same challenges, and that's why it's important to seek out community. And here's a clip of Rich talking about why that's important.
The thing about businesses is we all have the same challenges, right?
Yeah.
It's a size thing and a timing thing. The bigger you get, the number of employees or the dollar volume, depending on which one, we have the same problems. That's why YPO works so great, because it's experience sharing, right? I'm not telling you what to do. I'm saying when I went through it, here's the lessons that I learned. You know? Until Mark taught me those 5 jobs of a CEO, I didn't know it. And I could have figured some of them out. Good employees, the right team at the right place. But, until you go through it and have a format for it, you go, oh, that makes sense.
This podcast is not normally a place where I share a lot of my opinions, but here's my hot take. When Ryan Tittle started putting Christmas lights on his Zaxby's, the city of Greenville took notice and they started having a business Christmas light contest. That's my take. Ashley Gaskins, if you watch this, you can confirm. She works for marketing and was one of the first people to start doing like the Christmas light contest. So correct me if I'm wrong, but that's just my take. And I want to applaud Ryan for being a trendsetter in our community. Ryan owns a bunch of different Zaxby's around town, and he started putting Christmas lights on them. And in my opinion, it made him a local phenomenon. And it's just one of those things where Christmas lights seem so simple. People put them on their houses all the time. But Ryan putting them on his business literally shone a light on his business and made people start talking about it. And it's literally become something where his employees are bugging him like, when are you going to put the lights up? So here's Ryan talking a little bit about that. And to me, it's just a great reminder that not all marketing has to be traditional. You can get really creative.
5 years ago, we started doing Christmas lights. Believe it or not.
I'm so glad you're talking about this.
Believe it or not, that had a big impact on our business, especially year one.
Okay.
Because Amber found this person. They were advertised on the radio, and we had talked about doing Christmas lights ourselves. We gave it an attempt to do it ourselves.
You and Amber were out there stringing up
We
lights?
were up on the roof at the store by the community college one day with these plastic clips.
Oh my
went to Lowe's, got the strings, clips, and all that stuff. We didn't even get through one string of lights, and we were like, enough of this. We're not doing this. Took it all back to Lowe's. And then, I don't know, sometime shortly after that, she heard this ad on the radio. And it's the guy
So radio ads still work.
Yes. And I was like, call him. Check it out. Get some information from him. So, long story short, made a deal with him to do Christmas lights. And that was in 2020.
Mm-hmm. I remember when you guys started doing it. I mean, how could you
We were
miss
the only
it?
ones that did it like that. And so
Y'all got some competition now.
We do now because it developed. So we did that. And I remember business, revenue went up. We were comping. So when I look at comps over the same period last year, we're in double digits in comps. And I'm like, it has to be the lights because they were being attracted to it. So I'm like,
lights all the time.
It's not paying for all of it, but it's helping pay for those Christmas lights. And then year 2, was it 2 years ago? I was at the store by Bell's Fork when he was finishing putting them on and getting them turned on. And there was somebody that pulls in the parking lot and they roll the window down. I'm like, hey, how you doing? Good. I just saw the Christmas lights. We had to stop and come look at them. And by the way, while we're here, we're going to go and get some dinner. I was like, man, I love that. I love it. And that to me, that's a small thing, but I love seeing the reaction when it happens because we do it. He does a great job for us. They're not cheap. Mm-hmm. He's not cheap at all.
But they look really good.
But he's really good. And then I start getting calls from people, texts from people. Hey, Ron, who does your Christmas lights? This is him.
I bet this Christmas got I loved you.
This is him. Well, we won the award for Greenville.
Yes.
2 years straight.
I made the award.
Best direction, doing the best decorations for Christmas, whatever.
Next up, I have another one of my favorite stories about entrepreneurial resilience from Ellen Bravo. And she tells us a little bit about how it kind of felt like doors kept closing on her when she was trying to start this business idea, but she kept going, and here's why she thinks you should too.
I, again, will continue to stand by. The Lord always has a better plan. It's just sometimes we don't see it yet.
Yeah.
And so my dad and my bonus mom had transitioned out of the DC area, and they were living in Eastern Ohio. And I was obviously spending a lot of time up there during transition and looked at a property out there
In Ohio
that I was like, okay, this could be a really cool Airbnb. Excuse me, but it wasn't really the right fit at the time. And I was like, okay, that's not the one. Well, then this incredible historic schoolhouse in downtown Warren, Ohio came on the market for sale. And it was bid out for demolition, and it had asbestos. It was a really big undertaking. But I remember New Year's Eve going and touring the property with my dad and being like, oh my gosh, could you see the vision? This could actually be more like a boutique hotel, and you could have a spa, and you could have a conference room, and this could be the reception. And crazy me actually made an offer on this insane project that I have no experience and no right to take. And my offer was not accepted, and that was a very good thing. Okay. But through that process, I met a real estate attorney and got some insight and some perspective from her on questions I needed to be asking. Learn, and the vision just continued to evolve. And so what I had thought was going to be, I was going to own this little house over here, be an Airbnb. Now I have this full-fledged vision. I've got a business logo for the L Hotel. And now I'm headed to, in February, a couple months later, I'm now headed to Texas to visit some friends from the military. And I'm like, I made an offer. I've got this idea. I think I want to do something a little bit bigger than just an Airbnb. Oh, well, the house a block away from me has been on the market for 18 months. No one's lived there for 12 years. We should go tour. And I'm like, well, I have a pre-approval. Let's go look at it. Walk in. It's this beautiful historic home.
In Texas.
Suburb of Dallas. Wow, this would be a cool bed and breakfast. And growing up, I'll offer just as a side, my grandparents lived in a home on the National Registry of Historic Places. Cool. It was an old Victorian home. And my sister and I growing up had this vision of turning it into a bed and breakfast. Okay. So
childhood dream
come true, right? I'm like, oh my gosh, needs a lot of work. Start talking to the city planning office. They're like, oh, well, we're not quite there. You'd have to have everything rezoned. I'm like, oh, I don't know. They're like, but we'd love to work with you. Okay. I'm going to think about it. Let's finish my week visiting my friend, get back on the plane, get home. And I'm like, man, that would be such a cool place. Let me pull up the Zillow and look at this again.
Yeah.
Under contract. This house has sat on the market for 18 months with no offers. I tour it, and 5 days later, it's under contract. If I could explain the emotion that overcame me, it caught me by surprise. I felt like I had hesitated. I hadn't followed my intuition, and I was gutted. I was like, oh my gosh, I've messed up. I've ruined my chances. This is over. Like 3 strikes, you're out. And I messaged the realtor and I was like, if anything changes, let's just go ahead and have my contract with my offer prepared. Like, obviously I want this more than I even realized. Contract falls through, my offer goes in, and we're waiting. And we're waiting. And we're waiting. And I'm like, don't they have like an ethical obligation to say yes or no within a certain amount of time? And she's like, they've acknowledged they received your offer, but no response. Okay. And so a girlfriend from my childhood, we've known each other since 8th grade. She came over, she was for lunch, and we're sitting out there on the balcony of my apartment in DC. And I'm like, I think the Lord is trying to tell me that I am trying to leave too easily. Maybe I should be more rooted. Maybe I'm trying to too hastily make an exit and make a change. Maybe I've heard this wrong. Maybe I'm trying to have too much control. And she was like, I don't know. 5 a.m. the next morning, this girl changed my life because she sent me a Facebook post from Historical Homes of America. And she's like, I think this is your house. I think this is it. And I had been looking at all these properties. I mean, Texas is so far away from my family, completely different time zone. I'd spent 5 years abroad in different time zones. And she's like, no, this is 4 hours away. You can still see your nieces regularly. You can still be in the same time zone as your parents. Like, I think this is it. So immediately I'm like, oh my gosh, this is an amazing house. I don't know where Washington, North Carolina is, but let's look at a map. Email the realtor. Hey, I've got some zoning questions, which I've learned that I need to ask from that real estate attorney. So for me, I was like, okay, all the questions check out. It's a Friday morning, 2:00 on Sunday. My parents and I are walking in the door. And mind you, at this point, I've looked at 3 other places. And from the moment we walked in the front door, I just felt it in my bones. Yeah. I was like, this is it. I made my offer on Monday. So like Sunday, we're driving back to DC. My parents have work on Monday, so they got to get me dropped off. They've got to get home. And I texted the realtor in Texas and I was like, take my offer off the table. I found a property in North Carolina. Like, I haven't even put an offer in. And I'm like, take it off the table. And again, it's just everything worked out because, like, ironically enough, they got a full cash asking. And that, like, I guess maybe the Lord just needed me to make an offer over there to motivate someone else to do what they needed to do. But it worked out really well. Yeah. And Monday, I made my offer. I had to submit a video to the sellers to let them know like what my vision was for the space and introduce myself. I know they had multiple offers, and I was not the highest offer. But I really, again, when everything is right and it's in this space, the hearts were at work there. I had to write a letter to further share more about me and my background and who I was. And so we looked at the property on Sunday, and by Wednesday I was under contract.
When I think back about business advice that I have taken from this podcast and applied myself, one piece of advice always comes back. And it's something that Parker Overton said in the 4th episode of the podcast. And believe it or not, this is actually one of the most popular episodes we've had on the whole show. And it was number 4. And Parker tells us about how he's trying to get these businesses to put their stuff in his catalog and take a lower percentage of what they would normally make. And everyone kept telling him no. But here's why he thought that they should have said yes.
We were doing the same thing that Jeff Bezos is doing right now, except something came out in 2004 that changed the world.
And what was that?
You don't know?
No, tell me.
A smartphone. I tried to get dealers before to let me buy from me, and I sent them back a commission, and they thought it was stupid. But after a while, they found out, hey, we'll run it through Amazon and get a commission. Doesn't make a difference, and if you make $1. Or if you make $100, it was $1 you didn't have. Yeah. So, I mean, that's what I would try to tell us. Hey, you might make 25% on your normal order, but if you make 10% from me, that's 10% you didn't have. Yeah. But back then they didn't gasp it, but they do today.
One of my good friends, Chris West of Custom Building Company here in Greenville, Chris's dad started the company. And believe it or not, Chris is actually like a 5th generation general contractor in Pitt County. So really cool story if you want to go back and listen. But Chris shared a lot of insights on what it's like to take over a family business that you didn't start. And I thought this piece of advice that he gave rings true whether you're in a family business or you're just in a season of waiting. You know, what is it like to be in leadership at a company that your dad started and kind of walking through like a transition of you've literally gone through the whole transition of like starting at the company in 8th grade to now being like in your career and kind of moving up. Can you tell me more about that?
It's challenging in that you're working in an existing situation where there's things that you may want to do slightly different, but you just got to be patient. I've learned that.
Yeah.
But how awesome is it that he and I get to work together, and the opportunity to spend that much time together, and we get along. You know, we're alike enough that the good side, the good attributes kind of play together, and then we're different enough that we don't butt heads that often. Does that makes sense?
Yeah, because if you're too alike, you know.
Oh yeah, it would probably be chaotic. It wouldn't have lasted this long.
To round out this segment of Top Shop Talk advice, I'm going to feature a piece of advice from our most recent episode in 2025 with Mike Aman. So if you haven't listened to that one, it came out last week. Go back and listen to it. It's super good. And Mike talks about how he was in a classroom and he had students who were asking him questions. And this young woman asked him what the best part of being an entrepreneur is. And this was his answer.
Well, I just remember there was a young lady in that class that said, after I shared about my experience, she said, "What's the best thing about owning a business?" And I said, "Well, most people think I get to be the boss, I make more money, and I have more free time." And the opposite of that is true when you start a new business. When you start a business, number one, you might be the boss, but every customer is your boss. Number two, you probably won't make more money in the beginning. And then what was my third one? Oh, and you'll have more free time, and you have a lot less of that. And then the next question at the end was, well, what's the hard? Oh, and so she said, well, what is the best thing about being in business? I said, the people. It's about relationships and with people that we should value those so much. And then somebody said, well, what's the hardest thing about being in business? And I said, the people. So
I couldn't agree with you more on that one. It's the best and the worst part.
It is.
I don't think I could do a true recap episode without talking about some of my personal favorite moments from the podcast. And I'll be real, it's so hard to choose and honestly a little hard to remember because we have released how many? This is episode 22. We've released 21 episodes. That's like 21 hours of time for my little brain to have to go back through and remember. But there are a few that just stood out, and they're the ones when people ask me, what are the best moments of your podcast? This is what comes to mind. First up is actually a clip from our very first episode with David Mayo. David Mayo was my first business mentor, and it felt really just natural and fitting to have him as the first guest on the podcast. And he tells us a story about a time that he had to repo a cable in the middle of the night.
There's been a couple customers that they were red flags, and I probably shouldn't have had them as customers. So, doing it again, I'd probably make sure I didn't take on any customers that I didn't like.
What would you say is a red flag?
If they, so I used to do this thing where I'd be like, hey, if I'm driving it to you, you're in the eastern half of the U.S. and I'm driving out, just pay me when I get there for the last 50%. So it is on shipment. Hey, just write me a check when I get there so I don't have to deal. Well, that can get you into problems.
Okay. Yeah.
And then my business partner that was in the Midwest, he sold a unit to a large commercial park, one of the biggest in his area, and they never paid him. So we had to go repo a cable.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. That's
so embarrassing
middle
for
of the-
them, not for you.
Yeah, in the
That's
middle
so
of the
embarrassing.
night, had to go in and take it down.
Why'd you do it in the middle
How'd
of
you
the night?
see it? Did you have
Well, 'cause
flashlights and stuff?
You're going in and you're taking it.
Oh, my.
Is that the only time you've ever had to repo a cable?
Yeah, because I always have cash in hand,
Right.
and he did after that too. Yeah, and the one I had, that he didn't want to pay me. It was basically, I finished up the installation in the middle of the night. It was like 10 at night, and everything was working. It was on, but it's on top of a pole, so it's hard to see the motor spinning and whatever. And he was like, "Yeah, I'm not gonna pay you until it's daytime and I can see it moving." I was like, "No, that's not gonna work." and my wife was there, and she's like, "Be nice." I was like, "Well, I mean, the terms are before shipment, so this would be like before I left Greenville. You should have paid me."
So you wouldn't have seen it work in the first place.
Yeah, you wouldn't have seen it. Like, it's working. You can clearly see it working. You need to pay me.
You could probably hear it.
And he said no. And so I said, well, okay. So I walked over to my truck and started getting my tools back out. And so he walked over. He's like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "I'm taking the cable down. It's going back home with me." I was like, "It's probably going to take me all night, but it's going back home." And he was like, "Oh, okay." And his wife was there too. She was like, "Oh, go ahead and pay him." So they paid me, and I went home. I mean, luckily he didn't cancel the check or anything. So
Yeah.
he could have done that.
Right.
Oh.
But I would have gone back and taken that one back down.
In
Too.
the middle of the night, repo number 2.
Yep.
When Jessica Albee came on the podcast, she talked all about her business Fresh Vibes, where she makes real food smoothies and meals and shots. And she surprised me with I think it was like a wheatgrass shot and a sunshine smoothie, which, by the way, I now order the sunshine smoothie as like my go-to order when I go to her restaurant, but I haven't tried the shot since. And if you watch this clip, I think you will know why. I know it's good for you, but sometimes things that are good for you don't taste that good. And I am someone who I have a really hard time hiding my facial expressions, and Jessica even calls me out a little bit on it. So let's see.
Yes, but are y'all ready for
All right.
this? Yeah. Here, cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. Here's a try new things, okay?
Not bad.
I love that. Taylor, your face said it all, okay? In her mind, she's like, not bad. It is not bad. It is not bad. I can do it. Are you glad you had the smoothie?
Oh, it's so good. No, really, it really was not that bad. But like I said, the sour stuff, my face says more than
I love that.
Can't deny that. This one, I just don't even know where to begin. Bobby Joe and Jerry Abrams came on the podcast, and I've known Jerry for years. He's been in my C12 group. I've sat around a table with him once a month for a while. And it seems like every time Jerry came into C12, he had some kind of new story to tell us about an animal that was in his house or a baby he helped get adopted at a football game. And I remember when it was almost time for them to come on the podcast, it was maybe like an hour before they were supposed to be here, and I had recorded someone else back to back. I texted Jerry and was like, hey, if you want to bring an animal, like, come on. I talked to my podcast guy. He said, it's fine if you bring an animal up in here. And Jerry said, okay, we might be a little bit late, but we'll bring one. I didn't know what was coming. And honestly, I'm really glad it wasn't a snake. I was so worried it was going to be a snake. It wasn't a snake. It was Murphy. And Murphy is a type of lemur who climbed all around this podcast studio. And I'm going to play the clips for you of Murphy going kind of wild in the podcast studio. Hope you enjoy. So we open up with Bobby Joe has Murphy, and she's gotten him out of the baby carrier that she brought him in.
Murphy Man is a red rough lemur. We have ringtail lemurs, a few that were donated.
Murphy wants to talk. And Murphy starts kind of climbing around the studio. He starts scaling the tripod and actually turning it. And Josh and me are like losing our minds. I didn't even know how to react in the moment. But Bobby Joe just keeps talking to him like he's this little baby. Like, come here, Murphy Man. Oh, it's too good.
Come here, son.
Oh, gosh.
Come on, honey. Come on, Murphy.
Hey, buddy.
Come here, sweet boy. That's Murphy Man.
Oh, hello.
Hi, Murphy.
And then Murphy decides to climb on me. You could just see that, like, you can't predict it. And then Murphy's climbed up and he actually hops onto the TV. And then Bobby Joe's just, come on, Murphy. Oh my gosh. It's too much.
Is
Come on, baby.
You know, it's cool.
erratic
Murphy
as some of
man.
them. Like if one of the other ones were here.
Murphy.
Murphy's like, is there
Come here,
more
Murphy
coffee in this
boy.
cup?
Come on now. Come on. Come on. He wants a real tree.
And the rest of us were laughing.
Here, baby.
But bless his heart, he just fell down a tree.
Good.
I'm the prop guy.
Oh.
Okay, Murphy. I just have
Josh, are you okay over there?
I love it. I love it.
Murphy. Thank you. Precious.
So that's the fun stuff. I mean,
That
you
is
know,
the fun stuff. You
Fingers in.
can't script that. For this next segment of the recap, I'm going to be sharing with you questions that I get when I'm out and about the podcast. A lot of people ask, I love mentorship, and I think it's really important for people who are coming up in business or entrepreneurs who are seasoned or not to have community and to learn from other people. And I think that there's a lot of great business stories in Eastern North Carolina that don't get shared. So I was like, well, maybe I could start a podcast. And I wish I could say that I could have told you all of what I just said when I first started filming, but that's not the case at all. When I started, I asked David Mayo to be our first guest because we knew that if we tried this and it flopped, that David would be like, all right. He wouldn't have been upset that we didn't end up using the content or that something happened to it. He was just really supportive and was a perfect guinea pig for us. And once we saw that it worked with him, we kind of replicated and started doing it with other people too. And now 22, this is our 22nd episode. So 22 episodes in, I can confidently say that the Radiate Prints Shop Talk podcast is a successful idea. But I'll also say that what I originally thought was going to happen when I first started it is not what's going on now. So originally, I kind of thought it would be a way for me to just like better connect with my clients, better connect with people in our community, other business owners, and kind of share their stories. And that's happening. But I think something bigger is happening with it. I think it's become a way to highlight the role that Eastern North Carolina plays in business at a local scale, at a state level, at a national or international level. I think there's so many wonderful businesses that are here that people just don't know they exist. I can't tell you how many times I've heard people say, oh, I knew Bob Phillips, or I know Brian Fagundis, or these different people. And I knew that they like owned this business, but I never knew what all went into it or how they started it or what they really do. And it's really become a way to help our community connect and to help shine a light on the wonderful people that are doing great things for our community and serving one another. And it's just been really cool. So thank you so much for your support. If you've been on the podcast, thanks for being a guest. But if you listen, you really are the hero in all of this, helping get these stories out and helping other business owners and entrepreneurs see not only the value that there is in running a business and operating a business, having locations in Eastern North Carolina, whatever it might be, but also the advice that they've learned and are so kind to come on here and share. Another question that I get a lot is, how do I decide or choose guests to come on the podcast? For me, it's about finding a mix of people that I've heard their story and I know that it's something that I think other people would be interested in hearing. But I've also had a good mix of people that I never knew before that were referred to me, and people are like, you have to have them on. So if there's someone that you know that should be on the podcast, please refer them to me. Drop their name, tag them. I think those are some of the most fun episodes, are the ones that people really want to see. And then we get to release it and see people get excited about it. Another question that I got one time when I was trying to convince someone to come on the podcast, they said, well, what are your stats? And I said, I don't share those with just anybody. I'm going to save them for right now. So I have some stats. And when you think about podcast stats, I don't want to look at it until about 6 months in. We're 5 months in now. We're almost there. And in general speaking, when you look at podcast success, you're looking once you've been doing it for 6 to 12 months. So we're almost there. And if you have Spotify like me, I got a Spotify Wrapped for my podcast. So I'm going to share some of those stats with you. And I did some tallying up. So that was me doing a drum roll on the table. Our most popular episode on Spotify was Parker Overton's. And it's funny because that's actually one of my favorite episodes, and I'm glad that you guys think the same. And funny enough, it's one of the longest episodes that we have, because normally I try to keep the episodes like 30 to 45 minutes. Parker's like an hour and 10, but it's golden. The guy's hilarious. And Carly Summers was one of our most popular episodes on other platforms. And if you listen to either of those, I don't have to tell you why they were so great, but if you haven't listened to them, those are two that I would definitely recommend going back and giving a look. And Spotify also let us know that Shop Talk with Radiate Prints was in the top 25% of all videos on Spotify. Wow. Like, you guys are awesome. Thank you so much. Next up, we did get a few awards from Spotify. And by awards, I mean, I opened up my Spotify Wrapped and these little circles popped up. So we're going to, they said I should print it out and frame it. So maybe this is my version of doing that. 2025 Instant Hit Show. Our debut season was more popular than 81% of other new podcasts that came out this year. 2025 Most Talked About Show. We had more comments on episodes than 91% of other shows. I didn't really think that we had that many comments, but I guess you guys are doing a great job. So keep the commenting up on Spotify. Next is 2025 Most Shared Shows. You guys shared this episode 89% more than other podcasts. That's so cool. Please keep sharing. That's the point. I want this advice to get out there. I want other business owners to learn and connect, and I want light to shine on Eastern North Carolina and what's happening here. Our next segment is called Behind the Counter. These are moments from the podcast that never actually aired or were shown to anyone.
All right, we're rolling.
All right. Hey there, I'm Taylor Walden. I'm the owner of blah, blah, blah. Paul is at EC. Now I'm losing it. I'm losing it. I'm open to your take on how to word this.
It's just,
it's so wordy.
Yeah. But I don't think you could change it.
I know.
It's a medical technology company that was off for Paul.
How would I tell Nick about this when I call him and tell him what Paul did? That's what I need to think about. I'm calling Nick to tell him.
Okay.
Because I feel like that's me talking, like just without like trying to make it sound fancy. I talked to Paul today, and he told.
Hey, babe. Really
stores, but retail stores were actually a pain in the butt. Hope that's not too vulgar for the channel here, but yeah.
In honor of Taylor Swift's new album coming out this past Friday, I challenged myself to say all of her song titles in the life of a showgirl in this episode. So let's see if I did it. I did pretty good.
Yeah, it was good. This was a different style. It was like, I forgot about it until you like the 89 thing. I was like, oh yeah, shit.
There's my end to say all of that. So, yeah, it's funny you said you started in 1989. Taylor Swift was born in 1989.
Oh,
and she came out with her new album, The Life of a Showgirl, on Friday.
I know you have a girl. I know you're tickled with that.
You have a daughter in your house.
She's not a Swiftie, though.
She's not into it like that?
She's not. No, she's going more like normal, like, well.
Normal?
Country music. I was going to say normal country music.
No, I know what you meant, Chris.
And country music today is not normal. But yeah.
I didn't say the prep work. I said
So it was harder for me because it'd be extremely hot. And they're like, oh, go wash this alpaca. Oh, we're bathing the alpaca. Oh, I changed my mind. Let's go do this. Well, you lost me. You want me cute or working? Which one? I melted. You know what I mean? It's 100 degrees and humidity. And I'm thinking, this is so much harder than they realize. So I'm like, and then he always looked good. It never affected him.
They were like, we don't need you for like 30 minutes. I'm like, look, I'm going to run the tar.
He'd always be gone.
Well, after about the second time I did that, they rode with me because they knew my time was like...
It was really hard to sit him down
Jerry
and track
on
him
the go.
down.
I'm on time on caterings, and that's it.
Like there's Rock Faith.
Yep.
Living the American Dream.
Mm-hmm. I feel like we covered so much.
Yeah.
We should just put the flag as the background.
Yeah, really. Like a
I'm proud to be an American.
I am Miss
Man, I left my MAGA hat.
Yeah, do that. And I'll get people.
Should have just wore it the whole time.
I am Miss USA. I love America.
Yeah. It's okay.
Yeah.
I feel like it looked cheesy if we were like...
It might work. She's going to roll through that at the end and be like, wow, that was good. Yeah. At
the end of every episode of Shop Talk with Radiate Prints, to know that we're like officially good and can stop recording, I don't know. It's funny because we would always record a little bit after, which is why I have these clips. Josh would give us a thumbs up And it was usually after I would be like, thanks for tuning in. See you next week. And Josh would go like over there. And then I would go, woo. So it was like our little way of closing out. So to close out this episode, I'm going to give you guys a woo that we did it. And I want to encourage you that 2026 is going to be such a fun and exciting season 2 of the Shop Talk with Radiate Prints podcast. But the reason it's so exciting and that I get to look forward to it is because of you. You are the reason that this podcast can continue on and be successful. You are the reason that people want to come on here. You are the reason that I get to look forward to and be excited about doing this. But you're also the reason that we get to have a platform to share business stories from Eastern North Carolina that really are making a difference. Nothing makes me happier than to hear that it helps someone else. I want nothing more than to hear that someone was able to benefit from something that I put effort and time into, and that God would use it in some way. And I remember the week after Rich Ballott's episode came out, I had a friend call me and he was like, I was on the plane back from a business meeting in Chicago and I put this episode on from Rich Ballott from your podcast. And it was him talking about how he was going to hire a CEO coach. And I was having those same kind of conversations with my business partner. And we were thinking about hiring a CEO coach. And it was so timely. Thank you so much for putting that episode out. And I can't think of a higher compliment to receive, that something that I created or helped create with Rich for that week was something that could help someone in that way. So those are the best. And if you have stories like that and you're comfortable enough to share them with me, I'd love to hear it. It really is an encouragement and helps people like me who are creative, who sometimes have creative drive spells, to have some motivation to keep creating and to keep thinking of ways to make this podcast bigger, badder, and better. Because that's what I want to do, make it better for you. As this season draws to a close, I can't help but think about the people who helped make this podcast happen. I want to give a special shout out to 1413 Visuals, Josh and Tracy. I would not be able to do any of this or look nearly as professional as I do right now if it wasn't for you guys. Y'all are always so fun and such a pleasure to work with. I look forward to coming here every time that I get to come record a podcast here. And I'm so thankful for this resource that you guys have put into our community. If you haven't noticed, Josh and Tracy have like a podcast studio, which I'm sitting in right now. And they do such a wonderful job of creating a space that can look so different for so many different people. There's other podcasts that record here too, and I'm sure they feel the same way. So thank you guys so much. And thank you so much to all of the guests that have taken the time to come on here. You guys are the real stars of the show each time. And I love hearing your stories, and I love your vulnerability and your willingness to put your mistakes, your wins, and your life a little bit on display, and letting other people glean and learn from it. There's nothing more special than getting the honor and privilege to share that. So thank you. And thank you to my team who work at Radiate Prints and Simple and Sentimental. They hold down the fort while I come up here. And I don't have the words to describe how grateful I am for each of them, and that they play such a vital role in our business. And finally, I want to just give a special thank you to my sweet husband, Nick, and my 2 wonderful daughters, Lydia and Ivy. They give me so much purpose in everything that I do. And thinking about Lydia and Ivy and whatever career they might choose to do, that podcasts like this and resources like this might be able to help people like them who are like young and up and coming, or even people who are older and want to start a business and, you know, change career paths, to think that it might be able to help them is really encouraging and inspiring. And most of all, thank you to Jesus. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be where I am today. And Jesus Christ has given me the ultimate purpose and calling on my life to do things like this. So Merry Christmas to you and Happy New Year. We will see you for the next episode of Shop Talk with Radiate Prints on January 7th. So we'll see you then.